Clarissa Shields is done for. People are saying Papoose destroyed her with a secret baby, leaked pregnancy papers, and a double life she never saw coming. This whole situation has the internet spinning because everything she believed was allegedly already a lie. Buckle up, this is brutal. Everybody thought they knew the full story about Clarissa Shields and Papoose, a power couple. Smiles and interviews, soft words, future plans. Clarissa looked unbreakable, confident, loved, secure. That was the version everyone repeated. But now, leaked documents just surfaced, and the whole narrative is twisting. Because behind the curated photos and public affection, sources allege a dangerous double game was already in motion. This wasn't a breakup waiting to happen, this was a setup. And what she didn't know was that every smile, every post, every public appearance was allegedly camouflage. Reality was about to hit like a sledgehammer. Let me break this down, because this is where everything starts clicking into place. For months, fans watched what looked like a solid relationship. Clarissa Shields, undefeated boxing champion, seemed happy. Papoose, veteran rapper with street credibility and a long marriage history with Remy Ma, appeared to be her new chapter. The posts were there, the interviews were there, the chemistry seemed real. But allegedly, behind every public moment, another life was being maintained, and Clarissa reportedly had no clue. Think about it. Christmas wasn't spent with Clarissa. A child's birthday wasn't spent with Clarissa. Key family moments were reportedly spent with Remy Ma. Each event quietly rewriting the truth while Clarissa stayed in the dark, believing she was building a future. Every smile, every post, every public appearance, now alleged to be performance, not reality. And it gets even crazier. Online detectives started digging into the timeline. They're pulling up old posts, comparing dates, analyzing who was where and when. Fans online turned into investigators, slowing down footage, zooming in on backgrounds, studying body language frame by frame. And folks online swear the signs were there all along. They're pointing out moments where Papoose allegedly looked distracted, moments where his energy seemed off, moments where Clarissa seemed to be doing all the emotional labor while he just coasted. TMZ just dropped receipts showing that Papoose was allegedly maintaining two households, two separate lives, two separate narratives. And the kicker? Sources say Clarissa was financially supporting parts of this lifestyle without even knowing it. She thought she was investing in their future. Allegedly, she was funding a double life. Let's keep it real. This isn't just messy love. This is calculated deception. Because maintaining two relationships at this level requires planning. It requires lies stacked on lies. It requires looking someone in the eye and telling them they're your priority while allegedly spending your time, energy, and resources elsewhere. Fans are now going back through every interview Clarissa did during this period, and the heartbreak is visible in hindsight. She talked about timing, she talked about wanting kids, she talked about finding someone who finally understood her, she talked about feeling supported. And now, knowing what allegedly happened behind the scenes, those words hit different. That's not just embarrassing, that's emotional devastation in real time. And here's the part that really twists the knife. Clarissa is a world champion. She's faced brutal opponents in the ring. She's endured criticism, doubt, and disrespect throughout her career. But none of that prepared her for this. Because you can train for a fight, you can't train for betrayal. You can't prepare for finding out that the person you trusted most was allegedly living a completely different life behind your back. The leaked footage and screenshots show a pattern. Papoose allegedly celebrating milestones with Remy Ma while posting vague supportive messages to Clarissa. Papoose allegedly attending family events on one side while telling Clarissa he was busy with work. Papoose allegedly building a narrative of commitment while his actions told a completely different story. Online detectives found something even more damning. They started comparing the timestamps on social media posts, and they noticed something wild. On days when Papoose posted about being in the studio or handling business, his location tags and background details allegedly placed him somewhere completely different, somewhere that matched up with Remy Ma's posts. Fans swear they've connected the dots. They're creating timelines, mapping out locations, cross-referencing stories, and the picture they're painting. Allegedly, Clarissa was the side piece in her own relationship and didn't even know it. That's messed up because this isn't about two people falling out of love.
This is allegedly about one person being used for stability, resources, and public image, while another person got the real commitment. Clarissa wasn't just heartbroken, she was allegedly played on a level most people can't even imagine. And it gets worse for her, because once the internet detectives started digging, they didn't stop. They found old interviews where Papoose talked about loyalty, about respect, about what a real man does for his woman. And now those clips are being replayed, dissected, mocked, because allegedly none of it was real. It was all performance, all branding, all image management. Fans are now asking the hard questions. How long was this going on? When did it start? Did Remy Ma know about Clarissa? Did Clarissa know about Remy Ma? Or were both women allegedly being deceived in different ways? And the most terrifying question of all, if the leaked documents are real, how much longer would this have gone on if the truth hadn't come out? The whole situation is allegedly a masterclass in manipulation, because keeping two lives separate requires constant vigilance. It requires controlling narratives, managing schedules, and making sure the lies never overlap. And according to sources, Papoose allegedly did this for months, maybe longer. That's not confusion. That's not a mistake. That's strategy. That's planning. That's someone who knew exactly what they were doing and didn't care about the damage it would cause. Put all that together and it looks like the perfect recipe for disaster. Clarissa invested emotionally, she invested publicly, and allegedly she invested financially. She thought she was building something real, and the whole time sources say she was being used. That kind of betrayal doesn't just hurt, it changes you. It makes you question your judgment. It makes you wonder what else you missed. It makes you doubt everything you thought you knew about someone.
Now let's get into the motive, because this is where everything starts making disturbing sense. Insiders claim this wasn't confusion. This wasn't a man torn between two loves. This was allegedly opportunism disguised as devotion. And when you look at the full picture, the pieces start clicking together in the worst possible way. Papoose has been in the industry for decades, veteran status, street credibility, a marriage to Remy Ma that was publicly celebrated as goals. They weathered her prison sentence. They came out stronger. They built a brand around loyalty, realness, and ride-or-die love. That image was powerful. That image was marketable. That image was everything. But behind the scenes, sources say cracks were forming. Remy Ma's career was thriving. She was getting opportunities, collaborations, mainstream visibility. Meanwhile, Papoose's momentum was allegedly stalling. He wasn't getting the same buzz, the same attention, the same opportunities. And for someone who built their identity around being a strong provider and protector, that kind of shift can create resentment. It can create desperation. It can create a need to prove something. Enter Clarissa Shields, a world champion, financially independent, publicly respected, confident, strong, and reportedly very supportive. She represented something different, not just romance, not just attraction, but validation, opportunity, a fresh narrative, a way to stay relevant in a world that was allegedly moving past him. Think about it. Clarissa brought legitimacy. She brought attention. She brought resources. And according to sources, she brought emotional stability at a time when Papoose allegedly needed it most. She wasn't asking him to be anything other than himself. She wasn't competing with him. She wasn't threatening his ego. She was allegedly offering unconditional support. And for someone in his position, that's powerful. That's seductive. That's something you don't want to let go. But here's the problem. He allegedly never let go of Remy Ma either, because Remy Ma represented history, legacy, street credibility, a shared struggle that created an unbreakable bond in the public eye. Losing that would mean losing a huge part of his identity. Losing that would mean admitting the fairy tale was over. And allegedly, he wasn't willing to do that. So instead, sources claim he tried to have both. Clarissa offered emotional stability. Clarissa offered financial support. Clarissa offered public legitimacy in a new space. Meanwhile, allegedly behind the scenes, another life was being maintained. Remy Ma still got the real commitment, the real time, the real future. And Clarissa allegedly got the performance. Let's keep it real. That kind of fall off from industry relevance hits different. These dudes went from being celebrated as a power couple to being whispered about as remember them. That shift creates pressure, it creates insecurity, and for some people, it creates a willingness to do whatever it takes to stay in the conversation, even if that means allegedly using someone who genuinely cared. Back in their peak, people say Papoose and Remy Ma were pulling in serious money. Tours, features, appearances, endorsements. But now, reports suggest that income stream isn't what it used to be. The industry moves fast, new artists come up, attention shifts, and if you're not constantly reinventing yourself, you get left behind. That financial decline creates desperation, and desperation makes people do questionable things. Meanwhile, Clarissa was still out here showing success: world championships, endorsements, media appearances, financial independence. She wasn't struggling, she wasn't desperate, she was thriving. And allegedly, that created an opportunity to access resources, an opportunity to extend relevance, an opportunity to maintain a lifestyle that was allegedly becoming harder to sustain on its own. Put all that together, and it looks like the perfect recipe for exploitation. Clarissa wasn't just a girlfriend, she was allegedly a lifeline, a way to stay afloat while keeping the main relationship intact, a way to have security while maintaining the public image that defined his brand. And it gets even darker. Sources claim that Papoose allegedly used Clarissa's emotional investment against her. She wanted a future, she wanted kids, she wanted commitment, and allegedly he dangled that possibility just enough to keep her invested while never actually planning to follow through. That's not love, that's manipulation. That's someone who allegedly knew exactly what they were doing and didn't care about the collateral damage. Fans are now analyzing every interview, every post, every public appearance, and they're noticing a pattern. Papoose always spoke in vague terms. We'll see what happens. Timing is everything. I'm focused on the future. Never concrete, never definitive, always leaving room to backtrack. That's not confusion. That's allegedly calculated ambiguity designed to keep someone hopeful without making real promises. And here's the part that makes it even worse. Clarissa is a champion. She's used to fighting for what she wants. She's used to overcoming obstacles. So when things got hard, she didn't walk away. She allegedly fought harder. She invested more. She believed more. And that dedication was allegedly used as fuel to keep the situation going longer than it ever should have. This wasn't messy love. This was opportunism disguised as devotion. This was allegedly someone looking at another person and seeing utility instead of humanity. This was someone who allegedly calculated exactly how much they could take before the whole thing collapsed. And they almost got away with it. The motive becomes crystal clear when you follow the money, the opportunities, and the public perception. Clarissa wasn't just offering love. She was offering stability, resources, and legitimacy at a time when Papoose allegedly needed all three. And instead of being honest about his situation, sources claim he built an elaborate double life designed to extract maximum benefit while minimizing accountability. That kind of strategy doesn't happen by accident. That kind of deception requires planning, discipline, and a willingness to hurt people who trust you. And if the allegations are true, that's exactly what happened. Clarissa was allegedly targeted, used, and discarded the moment the truth became impossible to hide.
But here's the part that really hits different. Clarissa Shields wasn't just in love, she was invested, deeply, publicly, emotionally. This woman is a world champion boxer who's faced brutal opponents and overcome incredible odds her entire life. But none of that prepared her for this. Because you can train for a fight in the ring, you can't train for betrayal outside of it. She talked about kids, she talked about timing, she talked about finally finding someone who understood her. She talked about building a future, and then, allegedly, reality hit like a sledgehammer. Friends say disbelief turned into devastation, trust turned into self-doubt, love turned into public humiliation. This wasn't heartbreak, this was emotional annihilation. The leaked footage shows something heartbreaking. Clarissa, in interviews from months ago, glowing when she talked about her relationship. Eyes lit up, voice soft, hopeful, vulnerable in a way champions rarely allow themselves to be. She let her guard down, she opened up, she believed she was safe, and allegedly, the entire time she was being deceived. That's messed up, because this isn't just about a breakup, this is about trust being weaponized. This is about someone's genuine emotions being allegedly used as a tool for personal gain. This is about a woman who fought her whole life to be respected, to be valued, to be seen as more than just a fighter, only to allegedly be reduced to a pawn in someone else's game. You can see it in her recent posts. The energy is different, the confidence is still there, but there's something underneath. Pain, anger, betrayal. She's not talking about it directly, but fans can feel it. They're sending messages of support, they're calling out Papoose, they're making it clear that they see what happened. And that solidarity matters, because when your private pain becomes public, the least you deserve is people standing with you. And here's what makes it even more devastating. Clarissa is someone who prides herself on her strength, on her resilience, on her ability to overcome anything. But this situation allegedly attacked the one thing she couldn't armor up against: her heart. She thought she found someone who valued her for more than her accomplishments, someone who saw her as a woman, not just a champion. And allegedly, that vulnerability was exploited. Friends close to Clarissa say she's struggling with more than just heartbreak. She's struggling with self-blame, wondering what she missed, questioning her judgment, replaying every moment trying to find the signs she allegedly didn't see. That's the cruelest part of betrayal. It doesn't just hurt in the present, it poisons the past. It makes you doubt everything you thought was real. This wasn't just a relationship ending. This was allegedly a calculated dismantling of someone's trust, hope, and emotional security. Clarissa invested her time, her energy, her resources, her heart, and allegedly she got nothing but lies in return. That's not drama, that's trauma. That's something that takes real time and real healing to recover from. And the worst part, she has to heal publicly. She can't process this in private. She can't fall apart behind closed doors. Every tear, every post, every moment of pain is allegedly being watched, analyzed, and commented on. Her heartbreak became content. Her suffering became entertainment. And that's the dark side of being a public figure. Your pain doesn't belong to you anymore. But she's still standing, still training, still fighting, still showing up. And that resilience is what separates champions from everyone else, because this would break most people. This would make most people want to disappear. But Clarissa is facing it head on, and that strength is inspiring, even in the middle of devastation.
Then came the bombshell no one could ignore. The moment that turned speculation into devastation. The moment that made everything undeniable. Leaked pregnancy certificate, reportedly confirming Remy Ma is expecting. Allegedly, Papoose is the father. Not whispers, not vague rumors. Documents, receipts, paper trails. At that moment, the illusion collapsed violently. TMZ just dropped the full story and the internet exploded. Fans couldn't believe it. Clarissa couldn't believe it. Because up until that point, there was still room for doubt, still room for explanation, still room to hope this was all a misunderstanding. But documents don't lie. Dates don't lie. Medical records don't lie. And allegedly, this certificate confirmed everything Clarissa feared most. Let me break down exactly how wild this evidence is. Online detectives immediately went to work. They started analyzing the timeline. When was Clarissa posting about her relationship? When was this pregnancy allegedly happening? And the dates, they overlap perfectly, disturbingly. Which means that while Clarissa was allegedly being told she was the priority, Remy Ma was allegedly carrying his child. That's not a mistake. That's not confusion. That's deception on a level that's hard to even comprehend. Because maintaining that kind of double life requires constant lies, constant coordination, constant risk management. One slip, one wrong post, one overlapping schedule, and the whole thing falls apart. And allegedly, he kept it going for months. Fans online turned into full-blown investigators. They're pulling up hospital records, comparing locations, analyzing metadata on photos. They're studying every detail like they're on some CSI mission, and what they're finding is damning. Posts from Papoose that allegedly show him at locations that match Remy Ma's posts. Background details and photos that allegedly confirm he was with her, when he told Clarissa he was elsewhere. Voice recordings that allegedly show him making promises to both women at the same time. And folks online swear the evidence is airtight. They're creating spreadsheets, timelines, maps. They're comparing mannerisms and videos. They're using voice matching techniques. Some fans claim there's a 78% similarity in the way he speaks to both women. Same phrases, same energy, same promises, just different recipients. That level of consistency and deception is chilling. Now let's talk about what this certificate actually reveals. It's not just proof of a pregnancy, it's proof of a timeline. Medical records include dates, conception windows, doctor visits, and if those dates are accurate, they allegedly place Papoose in a relationship with Remy Ma during the exact same period he was publicly committed to Clarissa. That's not overlap, that's full-blown parallel lives. And it gets even crazier. Sources claim financial records may also be part of this leak. Documents allegedly showing transactions, payments, support, expenses related to this pregnancy.
And if those records are real, they tell an even darker story. Because it would mean that Papoose was allegedly allocating resources to Remy Ma and this pregnancy while presenting himself as fully committed to Clarissa. That's not just emotional betrayal, that's financial deception. Fans are now questioning everything. Was Clarissa's money used? Were her resources diverted? Was she unknowingly funding this double life? Those are terrifying questions. Because if the answer is yes, this goes beyond heartbreak. This becomes exploitation. This becomes fraud. This becomes something that could have legal consequences. The leaked certificate also reportedly includes medical facility information, and online detectives went there too. They started checking appointment dates, cross-referencing them with Papoose's public schedule, and allegedly they're finding matches. Days when he said it was working, days when he said he was traveling, days when he posted vague, handling business messages, all allegedly lining up with prenatal appointments. That's not coincidence, that's alleged coordination. Let's keep it real. This kind of evidence doesn't just appear. Someone wanted this to come out. Someone wanted Clarissa to know. Someone wanted the public to know. And the question is, who? Was it Remy Ma, finally tired of the deception? Was it someone close to the situation who felt guilty? Was it Clarissa's team, digging for answers after suspicions started building? Or was it someone with an entirely different motive? That mystery is still unfolding, but regardless of who leaked it, the impact is undeniable. Clarissa's world shattered. The public turned on Papoose. Remy Ma's involvement became a focal point of controversy, and the entire narrative that fans believed about this situation completely flipped. What looked like a love triangle became an alleged masterclass in manipulation. What looked like messy emotions became alleged calculated deception. And here's the detail that's driving everyone crazy. The alleged certificate lists specific dates, dates that place the conception during a time when Papoose was publicly celebrating milestones with Clarissa, posting about love, about commitment, about building something real. And allegedly, at that exact same time, he was creating life with someone else. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Fans are slowing down frames from interviews, they're comparing body language, they're analyzing micro-expressions, and they swear they can see the lies now. The moments where his eyes shifted, the moments where his answers got vague, the moments where Clarissa asked direct questions and got indirect responses. In hindsight, allegedly, the signs were everywhere. But love makes you blind, trust makes you vulnerable, and allegedly, those vulnerabilities were weaponized. TMZ also reportedly obtained text messages, exchanges between Papoose and Remy Ma that allegedly reference the pregnancy, messages that show planning, messages that show excitement, messages that show a level of commitment that allegedly was never given to Clarissa. And those messages are being dissected word for word. Fans are creating side-by-side comparisons with messages he allegedly sent to Clarissa during the same period. And the difference is stark. One set of messages talks about the future, about family, about forever. The other set is vague, non-committal, evasive. The evidence doesn't just prove what happened, it allegedly proves intent. It proves planning. It proves that this wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was allegedly a sustained, deliberate double life. And that distinction matters, because it's the difference between someone who made a bad choice and someone who allegedly built an entire infrastructure of lies. And the most damning piece of evidence? Allegedly, Papoose knew this was coming. Sources claim he was scrambling in the days before the leak, trying to control the narrative, trying to reach out to Clarissa, trying to manage the fallout. That behavior doesn't suggest innocence. That suggests someone who knew exactly what they did and was desperately trying to minimize the damage. At that moment, the whole world saw the truth, or at least the alleged truth that the evidence presents. And for Clarissa, there was no more room for denial, no more room for hope, no more room for explanations. Just cold, hard, documented reality. And that reality destroyed everything. And as the story exploded, one voice got louder and more relentless. 50 Cent, the king of social media trolling, the man who never misses an opportunity to drag someone through the mud. And this situation became his playground. He didn't just comment, he created content, memes, videos, posts, all designed to mock, humiliate, and amplify the drama. 50 posted screenshots of the leaked documents with captions that cut deep. He called Papoose a fraud. He called him a user. He claimed he saw this coming from day one. And honestly, knowing 50's track record, he probably did. The man has an uncanny ability to spot weakness, deception, and scandal before anyone else, and he turned Clarissa's pain into viral entertainment. But here's where it gets complicated. On one hand, 50 was doing what he always does, stirring the pot, getting engagement, staying relevant. On the other hand, his posts amplified awareness. They forced people to pay attention. They made it impossible for Papoose to control the narrative. And in a twisted way, that helped Clarissa, because the more attention this got, the less Papoose could hide. Fans started flooding 50's comments, some agreeing, some defending Papoose, some pointing out that this was real pain, not just entertainment. But 50 didn't slow down, he doubled down. He painted a picture of a man who never intended to commit, who never stopped playing both sides, who never respected the damage he'd cause. And social media turned into a courtroom, with Clarissa's pain becoming evidence. Meanwhile, other celebrities started chiming in, some subtly, some directly. Female artists posted cryptic messages about loyalty and betrayal. Male artists stayed mostly silent, probably not wanting to get caught in the crossfire. But the conversations were happening, in group chats, in private messages, in industry circles. Everyone had an opinion, everyone had a theory, and the story just kept growing. And here's something wild. Fans started digging into Papoose's past, old interviews, old relationships, old patterns, and they found similarities, moments where he allegedly wasn't fully transparent, moments where timelines didn't quite add up, moments where his version of events contradicted someone else's. And while none of it was concrete proof of wrongdoing, it painted a picture, a pattern, a history that allegedly made this current situation more believable. Let's keep it real. This whole situation became bigger than just Clarissa, Papoose, and Remy Ma. It became a cultural moment, a conversation starter, a case study in celebrity relationships, manipulation, and the dangers of trusting too easily. People were analyzing it from every angle. Relationship experts, psychologists, social commentators, everyone had something to say. And the deeper people dug, the more layers they uncovered. Allegedly, there were warning signs that friends tried to point out to Clarissa, concerns that were dismissed because she was in love, red flags that were explained away because she wanted to believe. And that's the heartbreaking reality of manipulation. The victim often sees the signs but chooses hope over caution, and that choice gets weaponized against them. 50 Cent also started posting throwback clips, old interviews where Papoose talked about loyalty, about being a real man, about what he would never do to a woman. And the irony was brutal, because if the allegations are true, every word he said in those interviews was performative. It was branding. It was building an image that allegedly had no foundation in reality. Social media became a battleground. Team Clarissa versus Team Papoose. Arguments in every comment section. Debates about who knew what and when. Speculation about whether Remy Ma was complicit or another victim. The story fractured into 1,000 different narratives, each one more dramatic than the last. And through it all, Clarissa stayed mostly silent, processing, healing, trying to figure out how to move forward. But her silence spoke volumes. It said she wasn't going to play this game. She wasn't going to turn her pain into content. She wasn't going to give people more ammunition. She was going to handle this her way, on her terms. And that dignity in the face of public humiliation, that's power. That's strength. That's someone who refuses to let betrayal define them.
This wasn't just personal, it became cultural. It became a conversation about trust, manipulation, and the dark side of celebrity relationships. Fans started debating larger questions. How do you protect yourself from someone with bad intentions? How do you spot deception when someone is skilled at lying? How do you balance vulnerability with self-preservation? What we're seeing here is how love can be weaponized, how trust can be exploited, how someone's genuine emotions can be turned into a tool for personal gain. And that's terrifying, because it means that being open, being honest, being willing to invest in another person can make you a target. And that realization changes people. It makes them more guarded, more skeptical, more afraid to let anyone in. The bigger conversation is about financial exploitation. If Clarissa's resources were allegedly used without her knowledge, that's not just unethical, that's potentially illegal.
And it raises questions about what recourse victims have in these situations. Can they sue? Can they press charges? Can they recover what was taken? These aren't just theoretical questions, these are real issues that impact real people. Clarissa's situation is a wild example, but it's also a warning for anybody with resources, with success, with public visibility. The more you have, the more you become a target. And if you're not careful, if you're not vigilant, if you don't protect yourself legally and financially, you can lose everything, not just emotionally, literally. The more you share publicly, the more you expose yourself to scrutiny, judgment, and exploitation. Social media creates an illusion of intimacy. It makes people feel like they know you. And sometimes that familiarity breeds entitlement. People feel like they have a right to your story, a right to your pain, a right to comment, analyze, and consume your trauma. And once your private life becomes public content, there's no taking it back. This story also highlights the importance of having people around you who will tell you the truth, who will point out red flags even when you don't want to hear it, who will prioritize your well-being over keeping the peace. Because allegedly there were people in Clarissa's life who had concerns, who saw things that didn't add up. But those concerns were dismissed. And that's human nature. When you're in love, you don't want to believe the worst. You want to believe in the best. And manipulators exploit that instinct ruthlessly. What this situation teaches us is that emotional intelligence matters. Financial literacy matters. Legal protection matters. You can't just love someone and hope it works out. You have to protect yourself. You have to set boundaries. You have to verify trust before giving it freely. And that's a sad reality, but it's reality nonetheless. Sources now allege financial resources may have been misused, that a secret life was allegedly funded with money that wasn't his, that public affection was performance, not truth. And if true, this wasn't betrayal by accident, it was deception by design. It was allegedly a long-term strategy to extract maximum value while minimizing accountability. And the most terrifying question remains: how long was Clarissa being played before she even knew she was in the game? How many months? How many conversations? How many promises were made with no intention of keeping them? How much of her time, energy, and money was allegedly diverted to someone else's life while she believed she was building her own future? The speculation is running wild now. Some fans think Papoose planned to eventually leave Clarissa once he got what he needed. Some think he planned to keep both relationships going indefinitely. Some think he got sloppy and the truth came out earlier than expected. And some think someone close to the situation deliberately exposed him because they couldn't watch the deception continue. Legal experts are now weighing in, talking about potential lawsuits, potential fraud charges, potential financial recovery, because if Clarissa's money was allegedly used under false pretenses, that opens the door to serious legal consequences. And sources say her team is exploring every option, not just for justice, but to send a message that this kind of behavior has consequences. Remy Ma's role is still unclear. Was she aware of Clarissa? Did she know about the double life? Or was she also deceived in her own way? Some fans believe she knew everything. Some believe she was kept in the dark. Some believe she was complicit. The truth is still murky, and until someone speaks directly, the speculation will continue. But here's what we do know. Clarissa's life was allegedly turned upside down by someone she trusted, someone she invested in, someone she believed in. And that kind of betrayal leaves scars that don't heal quickly. It changes how you see people, how you trust, how you love. And that damage is real, lasting, and profound. The fallout is still unfolding. More leaks are rumored. More documents allegedly exist. More people are reportedly ready to come forward with information. The story isn't over. It's just getting started. And the deeper it goes, the darker it gets. This story isn't over. The leaks aren't done. The fallout is still unfolding in real time. More documents are reportedly coming. More reactions are building. More damage is spreading. And the scariest part? We might only be seeing the surface. There could be layers to this that haven't even been revealed yet. Stay locked in, because this situation is about to get even crazier.
Reports say Clarissa's legal team is preparing a response. Reports say more evidence is about to drop. Reports say people close to the situation are finally ready to speak. And when they do, this whole narrative could shift again. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Clarissa deserves justice? Do you think Papoose should face legal consequences? Do you think Remy Ma knew what was happening? And honestly, do you think this was all calculated from the beginning, or did it spiral out of control? Let me know what you think, because this conversation is far from over. Make sure you like this video, hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update, because we're covering every twist, every leak, every reaction as it happens. This story is moving fast, and you don't want to be left behind. I appreciate you for rocking with me, for watching, for engaging, for being part of this community. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Remember, not everything that looks real is real. Not everyone who says they love you means it. Protect yourself, trust your instincts, and never ignore red flags just because you want to believe in someone. This wasn't love. This was an illusion, and it just shattered in public. Watch closely, because the truth is still coming out. And when it does, it's going to be devastating.